are live here, so every session would have its chat. So if you can go to the session tab, you can go to the chat, polls, and Q&A and introduce yourself. You can tell us what you do, where you're coming from, and what excited you to join this session. And I can already see David there. Hi, David, as you post your message. So please head to the session tab here. On the right side, you'll see event, my agenda, and session. And you can go to the chat, polls, and Q&A. There are polls for the sessions as well, which are already live. So please take part in those polls, as well as there is a Q&A tab as well, where you can post your questions. So let's move forward. Let me quickly talk about the session today. So we would be talking about unlocking automated drone operations with DJI Dock and Cloud APIs. And we have Flora and Grant with us from DJI team to talk about more details here. So let me quickly introduce Flora over here. Hi, Flora. So Flora has has years of experience at the intersection of cloud and traditional platforms. Now working at DJI Enterprise, he is responsible for expanding global SDK partnerships to create more diversified drone ecosystem. Let me stop my screen share and maybe you can get started with the session. I hope you can hear me.
Okay, your voice is clear, but we
Okay.
need to make the video.
Sure. So while Flora is sharing that video, we'll be talking about the entire session. We're looking at the more details at how you can unlock automated drone ops with DJI Dock and Cloud APIs. And then we'll be open for question and answers, where Flora and Freda would be joining us to answer those questions.
Okay, so sorry guys, we are just adjust our computers. So later we will share some videos from our North American teams. The leader of the solution engineer, Grant, will share some case study about the North Americans and also share some performance of stock. And also from my side, I will introduce the cloud APIs. And we also put the post on the chat group so you can share. Okay, so let's start.
Hello, and welcome to our Next Gen session on unlocking automated drone operations with DJI Dock and Cloud API. My name's Grant Hostka. I lead our solutions engineering team in North America here at DJI. My colleague Freda has talked about why we have designed the DJI Dock, and I'm excited to take you through how the system can be integrated into your business and cover some key information you need to know before a DJI Dock arrives at your site. We'll be going through the different steps today, including the capabilities. Is the DJI Dock and M30 series the right tool for the job? Site survey. Where can the dock be installed? Deployments. Go through the installation and configuration steps for a successful deployment. Mission planning. After the dock has been installed, how do you plan missions out and what are some of the tools available? And finally, use cases from various end users and testing in the field. So first, going into some of the capabilities of the system when determining if the system is a fit for your location. As you saw in the keynote with Freda, we've certainly put the dock through its paces in a variety of testing, as we knew this dock was going to be deployed in a variety of extreme environments. Let's review some of the key specs so you can understand what environment the dock is suited for. First off, temperature-wise. TEC air conditioning enables DJI Dock to withstand temperatures of -35 degrees Celsius up to 50 degrees Celsius and supports drone flights at -20 degrees Celsius to 50 degrees Celsius. When talking about protection for the dock, has an IP55 rating with core components rated to IP67. The drone can take off and land in winds up to 12 meters per second. Lightning protection is included as well, alongside power failure protection. The DJI Dock has a built-in backup power supply battery, which can supply power for 5 hours after power failure so the drone can safely return home. After landing the drone, it will be centered on the pad by the push bars and then is able to charge through ports built into the M30 series dock version legs. DJI Dock can charge the drone from 10% to 90% in 25 minutes, aided by the TEC air conditioning you can see in the video. There are the drone legs connected to the dock as well, charging. When thinking about range of the dock, you have to consider the flight time of the drone, which is 40 minutes, which allows the dock to cover a maximum radius of 7 kilometers from the dock itself in regards to going out to that location and then coming back to the dock and landing with sufficient battery life. As we talked about, the dock utilizes the M30 series dock version, which has the same capabilities as your regular M30 series, except it adds the ability to charge through the ports attached to the legs of the drone. The M30 or 30T sensor is built with inspection and overwatch scenarios in mind. The laser rangefinder allows for users to collect location information and also helps the zoom camera to focus. The zoom camera provides detailed viewpoint from a further distance away. The wide camera gives an overview of the scene or area that's being inspected. And the thermal camera is an industry standard 640 by 512 and produces radiometric images for analysis after data capture. So though 2D mapping is possible with the wide camera for a general overview, results will not be survey grade or comparable to something like the Mavic 3 Enterprise with the RTK module or M300 and P1. As you can see, the sensor is much smaller. It is also an electronic rolling shutter. So you might also consider the zoom camera for mapping due to the high megapixel count. However, it's also not a good option for mapping due to the narrow field of view and variable focal length. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it's a good idea to test your mission out beforehand with the M30 or a similar sensor to make sure it is capable of the job at hand. We know thousands of M30s are in use across the world, and it's been great to see the success of that system so far. So we look forward to continuing to build on that success with the dock system itself. After understanding the capabilities of the system, next up is determining if a site is a good fit for the dock. And there's 4 key items to consider for your site. First off, power supply. You're going to need a stable power supply without frequent outages. You can see some specs here on the slide as well. For network, you want a minimum of 10 megabits per second upload speed with 40 recommended. The location of the dock should be at an elevation at or below 4,000 meters. Want to avoid sites prone to water accumulation and lightning. Select a secure site to avoid any tampering. And then you're going to need a clear backup landing spot between 5 to 500 meters away from the dock and at the same height. The backup landing point will be used in case of emergency where the drone is not able to land back in the dock. You also need to consider any signal inclusion or interference at the site. You want to avoid any signal obstructions, and there should be no obvious signal shields within the ground altitude angle of 25 degrees from the dock. You can utilize the M30 series to collect satellite data and environmental measurements, whether that's electromagnetic interference, any transmission interference, or GPS or compass issues. Before the dock arrives on site, some civil work will need to be done as well. First off, mounting. If there's a risk of flooding or no hard ground, a cement or stainless steel base is needed. Wiring is going to need to follow standards for wire type, size, installation, and distance. And finally, the dock will need to be grounding using an existing system or by installing a system and connecting the dock to it. When moving into installing the dock, we'll need to mount it to the base in place, connect power and internet. You'll be able to connect the RC Plus to the dock itself with a cord, and then follow prompts to set up the dock, drone, backup landing point, and connect to the FlightHub 2 or a different server. Flight testing will then follow to make sure that the installation has taken place successfully. Now we are ready to fly and moving into mission planning. Within a FlightHub 2, you can define overall settings for the mission and then determine a route for the drone and add different actions at waypoints. Currently, the dock only supports waypoint missions, but we do plan to add manual flight in the upcoming months. After you've planned the waypoint mission, you go ahead, select the dock you'd like to deploy the route at, select the flight route, run the mission immediately or in the future. One of the cool tools we have for mission planning is the ability to import 2D maps or 3D point clouds into FlightHub 2 and then utilize those for mission planning. You can also capture and upload imagery directly to FlightHub 2 from the Pilot 2 app on the remote controller for processing into a 2D map. After import, you can utilize flight planning tools, putting you in a FPV view at a waypoint. You can then manipulate that point cloud to see what exactly the drone is going to capture during the mission and add that action. So you can see the example here. We're able to go to the waypoint that's been dropped, move the camera view to the area we'd like to take a picture of, add that action, and then it is automatically added to the waypoint, and you can see the field of view will be capturing what we're looking at. After we've gone ahead and run the mission, you'll be able to view the dock and the drone's live feed before and during the mission, and then track the progress of the drone on the map as well. When the drone comes back and lands, videos and images will be automatically offloaded from the drone to your cloud platform of choice. In this example, we have FlightHub 2 here. And from there, you can review the imagery, zoom in, zoom out, and see its location on the map. Other cloud servers are also an option through the Cloud API, where folks are able to build their own platform to work with the dock, which Freda will get into shortly. I'm sorry, Flora, not Freda. Let's dive into some use cases for DJI Dock. First, I'm going to share some insights from two of our early test partners, Oxy and BNSF, who both presented at our 2022 AirWorks conference. Oxy sees good potential for the dock in providing repeat inspection capabilities on a regular basis, and then being able to utilize AI for change detection. Also, they'll be able to utilize the dock to complete flights for on-demand inspections for critical situations so they can quickly get necessary information. And finally, being able to leverage one dock for multiple use cases and asset types from a single location will provide additional savings. BNSF shared their future vision for the dock at our AirWorks conference, which includes rapid response. In a situation where sensor data, including a situation such as a rock slide, they need to clear the track or properly plan resources to respond. By deploying a drone from the dock, they'll be able to get information faster and save critical time. They'll also be able to execute repeated missions collecting visual data to enable up-to-date stockpile volumetrics. And finally, utilize the dock for automated routes to increase rail yard efficiency by collecting data on inventory locations. The current M30 series is a strong platform for a variety of public safety and security programs. We are excited for the dock to help these programs continue building on their successful deployments by automating response. Police departments have started to utilize drones to respond to 911 calls as part of Drone as a First Responder programs, or what some call DFR. DJI Dock provides temperature control and charging capabilities alongside an avenue to fly to a location from a computer, both right up the alley of DFR. When considering site security, which is a requirement for a variety of industries, the dock allows for an operator to plan and automate repeated perimeter flights, monitoring live video feed and reviewing recordings after the flight. The operator will also be able to utilize manual control as it's added in the upcoming months to further investigate any potential issues. So these variety of features that both the Dock, FlightHub 2, or Cloud API will be able to enable are useful for both security and public safety applications. As I share this image of one of our testing fields, it excites me to think about all the innovative ways you will put the DJI Dock to work. At this point, I'd like to pass it over to Flora to share more about our DJI Cloud API.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Grant, for sharing. I'm Flora, the SDK Relationship Development Manager. We are excited to see the current progress of the development of the dock and also the POC test. So we are hoping to release the potential of the dock autonomous by working with our ecosystem partners and also to develop the product that is able to integrate with the DJI Dock. So today I will have the 5 chapters to elaborate what is Cloud API and how to start the development based on the Cloud API. So developers is the stakeholders of the DJI ecosystem. So we have seen a lot of excited development based on the DJI drones, from the data capture to data processing, all the way of the end-to-end flight workflows. So before we go deep into the Cloud API, so I will make the highlight just how far we are in the SDK communities. So currently there are 100,000 developers in the SDK communities, and there are more than 1,000 apps are released. And for the hardware communities, it continues to grow larger and larger based on the payload SDK. And there are more than 110 different kinds of the PSDK hardware was released and in the productions. So with this kind of a success, we are still keep the same aims to create the values for the end users and transform the life with the product that anyone can use. And also we are trying to simplify the development process. So that comes the Cloud API. The Cloud API is the new members of the SDK portfolios. And we see Cloud API as the first open capabilities or the open interfaces. It's not directly from the drones. Cloud API will aggregate the feature set from the DJI remote controller app, pilot to app, and also the DJI Dock. So developers can develop their web-based cloud platforms based on the Cloud API, and they're without knowing the complex drone logic and also the control logic of the docks. And also Cloud API will give them the flexibilities to combine the different kind of functions and also to allow them to choose a different kind of the deployment environment. It can be the public-based environment, or it can be your private servers. And also it gives you the flexibilities to do the UI designs to determine which terminals will allow you to access your cloud platform. And we see that Cloud API will play a very important role in DJI ecosystem because of the following benefit. First, it will help the developers to develop a unified platform to access the DJI mainstream product, the drones and the DJI Dock. So it will give the users keep the user experience constant. And also it will simplify the development process. A Cloud API will let the pilot to app and the DJI Dock to isolate the complex drone control logic. And no need to develop the remote controller app if you just want to get some data or you just want to send commands to the drones. And also no need to follow every update of the hardware if the APIs keep the same. And it will be very easy to use because Cloud API adopt the standard protocols such as MQTT, HTTPS, and WebSocket. So it will be quite easy for the developers to start. And Cloud API, we also design some typical features that is vertical oriented in the Cloud API. And we see it quite easy. To pass the drone data to vertical platform for further applications. So we think Cloud API will be a bridge to connect the DJI stable hardware to the integrated vertical insight together to provide the better experience to the end users. So let's go into the detailed features of the Cloud API. There are 8 feature set, which is published on the DJI website. From the access to the cloud server to the maintenance stage. So these 8 features will cover the end-to-end workflows and access to the cloud server, device management, live streaming, media management, and VLAN management. It's the 5 fundamental features for the dock development. So with these 5 basic features, you will get real time, get the drone and the dock status on real time, and also you can send the missions to them and have the ways to manage the captured data. Well, HMS function, remote debug, firmware upgrade will make the debug process more easier. And also there are some advanced features coming soon, such as manual control. So it will allow you to control your gimbals and the drone handling during mission. This is very important features in the public safety industries. Select the color palette in infrared camera mode. This kind of things will be made it more easier to control the dock. And there are a lot of the features will be coming soon. Please keep an eye on the release note on the DJI developer website. So till now, you will find the close relationship between the DJI Dock and the Cloud API. The design purpose of the DJI Dock is to do the remote operations without the pilot on site, and also the dock can do the automated operations. So while cloud platform is a necessary part of the whole solutions, which is used to configure and send the autonomous missions and to monitor the missions. And DJI have the self-developed cloud platform called FlightHub 2. Well, we know there are some specified and customized requirements in different verticals. So Cloud API is come. It gives the flexibilities to the end users to the developers to have their own and customized platform to control the dock. So as the dock was widely tested and accepted in China and the other areas, we will find a lot of the developers are drawn in to develop the autonomous solutions based on the Cloud API. And there are 800 different developers join in since the release date last year, March. And we will see a lot of the different kind of solutions come into the market. For example, the solar farm integration, there is ShinGrid, 中科立丰, Xianheng. And for the power grid inspection, there are Hangzhou Zixi, SkyThings, and GeoAI. And for the public safeties, there are Fuya, Joint Flight, Red Point, and Wingo Flights. And even in the water production, there are developers there. So you will see the examples, UI examples of the Cloud API was used in the emergency response. The Dock with their existing platform to do the drone physical response. And also you can see that Dock was used in the solar farm integrations, inspections. So Dock will be used as advanced terminals integrate into their existing digitalized platform. So as the requirement and the Dock development became more and more mature, we find there is a big opportunities in the cloud platform management centered to the autonomous missions. So we are looking for more and more developers and integrators join in. And according to our experience, drone cloud management solution provider, vertical solution provider, and Dock manufacturers, they are good at candidate because they know, they are familiar with DJI drones control logic, and they know the specific drone solutions in the different verticals. And also for the data analysis platform providers, it also is a good start. They are suitable for the massive data analysis, which is generated or produced by the Dock. And it will help them to expand the business scope by providing end-to-end solutions to end users. And it is very easy to get started. You just need to get one M30 series standard version and one RC Plus to get started. So first step, you need to finish the 5 fundamental features on the Pilot 2 app, and then move to the Dock environment. There are 2 kinds of Dock environment. First one is development board. It is Dock simulator. The other one is a physical Dock. So before the Dock officially sells, DJI will provide a limited development board to let integrators and reduce the time to the market. And also the integrators could work with DJI dealers to get the demo Dock for test and solution validation. So after the official sales, integrators or developers can also purchase DJI Dock for development. So after the development, we need to do the POC test and the solution validations. So DJI will go with the selected integrators to do go-to-market promotion and also help them to find a proper business mode. FlightBase as examples, they are just took less than one month from receiving the development board to do the live demo in 2022 Airworks. So FlightBase is have the much experience in the Dock platform development. So they are continue to optimize their platform based on the Cloud API, other things. So we will provide and continue to optimize the technical support channels by giving the developers more resources. Tutorial guide, for example, the API documentation demo code, which is open and published in the developer website. It will help developers get started easily. And there's also the test guide to make sure the developers on the right directions and on the right platform. And there are several different kind of technical support channels. SDK forum is kind of the database from all over the world. And also you can submit a request in the DJI web developer website. So there are technical engineer give your feedback as soon as possible. And the communication between you and the technical engineer will be kept recorded, and you can follow up. And for the selected integrators, we'll give the special cooperation with them to help to accelerate the development. So I'd like to go back to the large directions of building integrated ecosystems. So all we hope that by cooperate with our developers and ecosystem partners, that we can release the promised potential of the DJI Dock. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Flora. Thank you, Freda, Grant,
Yeah.
in this presentation. I hope you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you. Sorry for the inconveniences of the technical issues we had in the beginning. But,
No
right,
problem.
yeah, first time to use the hop-in platform.
No problem, no problem. It happens, all of us. So technical, but something could always happen. But glad we could do this sessions, and we have good 80 plus people joining at the middle. So it was really good. Let's deep dive into some questions. So let me just bring that up. So of course, the session, let me pick few here. So people have asked one of the questions where right now it's about M30, but would the Dock would be available for smaller drones in the future or not?
Yeah, I mean, in general, definitely see this as a trend for towards drone automation, towards drone in the box solutions. Definitely, this is the way we're heading towards. And also, but things will also depend on the market feedback for the first generation of the DJI Dock, right?
Right, absolutely. So let's have more questions. So guys, feel free to put your questions. We also have polls over there. Do we have any more questions from the audience? Feel free to use the chat box and put your questions, and Flora and Freda would be happy to answer. So one of the questions that we are asking, Flora, is about this open drone in the box approach, right? To without asking to every speaker, right? In terms of the modularity and the benefits that it brings. So we'd like to get your thoughts on this kind of an open ecosystem where people can develop, use the choice of your docking station, the APIs, as well as stuff to build apps. So if you can share some of your thoughts and what is the thought process of DJI. And how do they see this open DIB ecosystem?
Okay, so as you know, before DJI has a very large ecosystem based on the SDK, and we know all these SDK is directly open from the drones, or yes, directly from the drones, like the PSDK, mobile SDK, and onboard SDK. So before, if the developers want to control.
Okay.
Great. So you were answering the questions back then for the open DIB approach. So if you can just answer that question, that what are the benefits that you see for this open ecosystem?
Okay, so for Cloud API, first we say it will be very easy to start, because for the developers, they no need to know much about the flight control logic or physical logic of the drone working with Dock. So they just to know some standard protocols like HTTP, MQTT, and this kind of IoT protocols. So it's very easy to start. And another thing is that we see that the gateway of the Cloud API is coming from the Pilot 2 app and also from the Dock. So there will be not need to follow each update of the firmware if the API is not changed. So normally the API will be not changed along with the firmware. So it can be for them to make the same experience or not to update so frequently. So it will be reduce the home workload of the developers. And also we see that the opportunities for the cloud management platform when the dock go to the international market. So cloud API will also give them much more opportunities to develop a web-based platform. So it's a long-term open interface to support both DJI Dock and the drones and the coming products.
Great. The another question that I see is that when would be the dock available in South Africa? Somebody's asking. Do you have any kind of insight there that you could share?
Yeah, in general, for the global market, we're looking forward to roll out the dock in Q2 this year. However, for specific countries or regions, we're still, trying to figure out internally with our after sales team, like what could be the our capability to support in different regions and countries. So let's look forward. Definitely, we want to expand the deployment of the dock to more countries as much as we can.
Okay, that's great. Another question is, can DJI LT modem be used with the dock? The LT modem which is there for the drone, I think that's the question.
Yes, I see. So currently it's available in the China market, but for the on the global side, I'm afraid the connectivity from the dock to the cloud will be based on the Ethernet connection. So, but if you're considering about like the other ways, for example, like LTE or 5G even, I guess that can also be realized through a 4G router. And also I've seen people currently, our colleagues and also the customers, they're exploring more options such as the Starlink.
Right. Okay, that's great. That's great to hear. Jean Michael is asking, can we use a drone to fly over 2 docking station? I think this is kind of a request that's going to come soon, where fly from one and land on another. So do you have any comments on that?
Yeah, definitely. I guess at this stage, so currently, I believe our dock mainly supports, to take off and landing in the same dock. But definitely, I believe this could be a common request for people who are doing the inspection for a linear or a long area, for example, like oil and gas pipelines or river or highways. So I guess this could also be a feature for our R&D team to consider in future.
Right. And could you just jog the memory of everybody? What is the range of DJI Dock and M30 there? How long it could go and come back? What are the typical ranges that a drone could fly and come back?
Yeah. Speaking of the coverage range of the dock, it actually depends on 2 factors. One of them is the transmission range. So the dock, or speaking of the M30 inside the dock, it supports a maximally 15 kilometers transmission range for FCC, but obviously also depends on the environments, the signal, performance there. So it could vary from case to case. And the other factor is the flight time or the battery percentage. So if we're talking about definitely, different types of operations could also impact how much distance you can cover effectively with the dock. And according to our experience, the maximum range we can cover is 7 kilometers.
Okay, that's great. That's great. Zhang is asking here, then can M30 PSDK payloads be used with cloud APIs for data transfer, control, etc.?
Yeah. I see. Could also be a very interesting direction to go. So currently, our R&D team are still working on it. I guess Grant and Flora also mentioned some of the fascinating features that we look forward to in future. For example, to support manual control as well as the payload SDK. This is something has been planned in our roadmap.
Okay, that's great. One more question is around Cloud API, right? So Cloud API, the dock portion of it, where other DJI drones, would that be compatible with the other docks? So Zhang is asking, will you be open for Cloud APIs for dock portions where other people can leverage it, or it will be just for the M30 and the DJI Dock?
So for the Cloud API, I think we're supporting not only DJI Dock, but also like our drones, right? The M300, M30, and the Mavic 3 Enterprise series.
Right. Right. Okay. Sounds good. I think those were the questions that I have, and I think we are already up on time. So I thank you both, as well as Grant, for sharing the session, and Hemi to help us with the technical issues. It has been a great session. We'll, of course, have a recording made for everybody who could join again and see this. That would be available within